Vasudevasutam Devam Kamsacharuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Thou son of Vasudeva, the supreme bliss of thy mother Devaki, destroyer of the forces of Kamsa and Chanura, to thee, O Krishna, as Guru of the world and as God, we salute. The Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, verse 20. We'll take up 3 verses, 20, 21, 22. We've subtitled it, The Lesser and Greater Spirituality. Well, the theme will somehow follow this line of, you can say, division. The very first one, that's verse number 20. We might get an idea that the persons spoken about in this verse are really great, but they are lesser compared to what will follow. Those who are versed in the 3 Vedas, they, after worshipping me through sacrifices and becoming drinkers of Soma, purified of sin, pray for the attainment of heaven. Having acquired the results of righteousness, the domain of the King of Gods, they enjoy that heavenly pleasures given to the gods. Let's break it up a little about these particular persons that is being spoken of. First thing, that they are the knowers of the 3 Vedas. They are versed knowers of the 3 Vedas. The 3 Vedas are the Rig Veda, the Yajur Veda, and the Sama Veda. And specifically, the karma portion. The Vedas are divided into 2 broad divisions. The Karma Kanda, that is the section on karma, and the Jnana Kanda, that is the section on knowledge. This is the section where you have the most of the Upanishads. So these karmas, that is these sacrifices, these pujas and rituals and innumerable rules and regulations that have been enumerated in the Karma Kanda, where the worship of the deities is predominant. It's not bad, it's highly sublime and elevating. And you might spend your lifetime in knowing these 3 Vedas. And the priest, the sacrifices, in the case of the Rig Veda, it is the priest called the Hota. In the case of the Yajur Veda, it is the Advaryu. In the case of the Sama Veda, it is the Udgata. So when these persons, they perform this particular sacrifice called Agnishtoma. Agni is fire. The particular sacrifice. It's like the Vedas themselves say, Swarga Kamo Agnihotram Juhuyat. If you desire heaven, then perform these sacrifices. Yeah, everybody desires heaven, and then we can perform. Yeah, but it needs a lot of discipline. It just cannot be performed by everybody. And you cannot do it just once and say, that's my ticket. No. So these people, these types of eligible, you can say, persons, they worship God through these sacrifices. And though they worship God, but they worship God through the various smaller deities, like Vasus and Rudras and Maruts, etc., etc. Anyways, so they worship. And that's why he says, they worship me, but indirectly. And they are the drinkers of that Soma, you can say juice. That's a Soma sacrifice. Soma Yaga. That was one of the, you can say, most elaborate Vedic sacrifices. So where the Soma is pressed. Soma is a kind of a creeper that is pressed, and you get a kind of a milky white juice, and that is used as an oblation in this fire. And the remnants are drunk by the sacrificer, as like they say, prasada. We cook something, and then you take a little and you offer it to the Lord, and then it becomes prasada. And then we partake of that. So prasad, they take that prasad. And they are purified of all sins. So the fact of knowing the three Vedas, the knowingly perform those sacrifices, then perform these Soma sacrifices, and after that they take that sacramental food or the juice, Soma juice. So as a result, what happens is, they are purified of sin, and having attained that righteousness, the tremendous righteousness. They are not you can say, ordinary people. They have tremendous levels of, you can say, punya, as you say, merit. But like most people who can get rid of those desires for enjoyment, they are righteous people, but they have that. So what happens to them? They attain the domain of the king of the gods, Indra, Surendra Loka. They attain those elevated worlds. And then they, in those celestial bodies, they enjoy divine, you can say, enjoyment. So I don't know what they are. You can imagine what they could be. It'll be the same thing that they are, what we have here. Except if you eat chocolate here, you'll get diabetes. There you won't get diabetes. So something like that. So those who are versed in the three Vedas, those who know the three Vedas, and after worshipping me, that is God, through these sacrifices, they have the performance of this sacrifice called the Soma sacrifice. They drink the remnants of that juice of the Soma. They are purified of all sin. They attain to the highest level of righteousness, dharma. And they go, after the fall of the body here, they attain those worlds where they dwell amongst the gods. Traividyamam soma paputa papa yagnairištva svargatim prartayante te punyamasadya surendra lokam ashnanti divyan divideva bhogan. So that's it. So we have seen this Trividya. Ishtva is worshipping. They worship me through the sacrifices. All this. They want, they prarthana, and they pray for this highest level of kind of enjoyments. Oh yeah. They are called the immortals. But not immortals in the sense of permanent immortality, because that's a contradiction in terms. In Hindu philosophy, there is no such thing as a permanent immortality. You can get something which is temporary. So, the next verse picks up this very idea. Because if you do the best sacrifices, the highest sacrifices, yet they will be limited because there is a subject, there is an object, and the connection between the subject and object. So, the very act of a sacrifice means you have this duality. And wherever there is a duality, the results of the duality will always disintegrate. There won't be something that's immortal. Besides, you will have a form, and that form means you are limited by space and time. It's always people say, yeah, we will have angelic bodies. You may have angelic bodies, you might have whatever bodies you like. But the very fact of having a body means you are a limited being, limited by time and space and causation. Something has caused you to attain these angelic bodies. What are these causes? These righteous acts. Well, this can be understood. So how long do they last? Because they are acts. ACTS, acts. And every act has got a limited scope, a duration, till it decays, disintegrates. So there you have. So the causes that give you an angelic body and in an angelic world will come to an end. So the next verse takes us up. This is what is called the lesser spirituality. Let me make it clear. These are not ordinary people. Guy who will tell lies the whole day and try to go and curry favor with God in some temple or synagogue or mosque or church. That is not those kind of guys. They are extremely, extremely, extremely steadfast in their religion and in their vows and their dharma. But they have a desire for taking it easy in a nice place. Well, everybody does. Most of us do. There are some who don't. That will be spoken of later. So the next verse is, after having enjoyed that vast heavenly world, those guys, enter into the mortal world on the exhaustion of their merits. Those who thus verily follow again the rights and duties prescribed in the three Vedas and are desirous of pleasures attain the state of going and coming. You go there, you come back here. They give you a ticket to go, but they give you a return ticket also, you come back here. There's no one-way ticket. So, you have to book a return ticket also along with that. You got a big discount also. So this is idea. Te tam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam kshine punye martalokam vishanti Evam Traidharma Manoprapanna Gata Gatam Kama Kama Labante. These verses are so kind of direct. They come to you like a sword blade falling down on something, kind of cutting asunder the knots of ignorance. Every word is telling. I mean, I could go on and on for her days with just one verse. But since we have a limited time and then, various factors. So I said, they say, those who are versed in the Vedas, those who perform the sacrifices, those who are desirous of enjoyment, those who have been thus purified, they are righteous. These are the guys. Not the guy who walks down the streets, ordinary guy. You will not get them there. So they, after having enjoyed that vast heavenly world, Swarga Lokam Vishalam, vast. And time is relative. And when it's over, it's over. Today we are talking about 10 years have passed. 10 years? We didn't even realize 10 years have passed. Where did that go, 10 years? Didn't see it coming and didn't see it go. We are seeing the tail end of that 10 years. What? So, however long duration you might be there, when it's over, that thing is like a kind of a dream. It has just come like a flash and gone like a flash. It will leave you more frustrated. I want more. Sorry. Why? Because those very acts, those karmas that have lifted you up, like these rockets that they have these boosters, they take you up. And they've taken you up, and then the whole thing has become exhausted. Everything kind of comes down. This is saying, Kshine Punye Martalo. This is the world of Martha, the world of constant death. Here the changes are extremely fast. It is, in fact, this world is nothing but a constant change. And this is what signifies this world. Martha Loka. Loka is an experience. What is that? The world of death, constant death. That world of constant change. So those guys, they come down here back again. Well, and thus, Traidharmam, these guys who are the knowers of the three knowledges, three Vedas, they attain such things. What? The going, Gata, and Agata, coming. Why? Because they have those desires, kama. They want to enjoy those desires. So these are the guys. So, Holy Mother also says, even if you have a slight desire, you've got to embody. You cannot get out of this. But it's so difficult. Throw away all your desires. Or make all your desires converge into Sri Ramakrishna and offer them to him. So this is the way. And besides, once as you keep on growing older, we become mature enough. And we see our own stupidity at times. And we correct ourselves. What we wanted last year, or maybe 10 years ago, we don't want it today. But there are certain persistent things which will not going to relinquish you. They kind of cling on to you. Why? Because you are clinging on to them in a way. And this is what you need to. Here you need divine help. you can't do without divine help, divine intervention, as they say. Divine intervention is saying it's not divine intervention in history or politics. People want God to intervene in their politics and in their history and all these things, which here God will directly intervene in your life. So here you have, so even Swamiji said, what we want is divine strength. This is how we can give up all desires. Once we see the futility, this coming and going and coming and going, what's the point? There is one time when you say, I've got enough of this. I've had enough of this. That's why I said, te tam, in those worlds, bhuktva, enjoy, swarga lokam vishala, in those vast heavenly worlds. Now, is there just one? No, there are plenty. You can, depends on what what is your level of righteousness, you'll end up there. Like there are many dimensions in this world itself, from the bacteria till the blue whale. You have humankind are somewhere in the middle. So, similarly, there are various dimensions in this subtle worlds there. So, and again, what takes you up also brings you down. So karma had taken you up, that karma dissipates, come down. And then you enter back. This is the best place, actually, to get away from it all. The moment you talk about a plane of existence, that will not be permanent at all. So everything is mutable, and that is what the whole of the metaphysics is. There is nothing permanent. There is nothing. What are you going to do there? There is no, as the Kathopanishad say, there is no eating and drinking, there is no disease. So what are you going to do there? What will keep you busy? We'll start working, we'll build something, supercomputers there. Oh, sorry, we are already building supercomputers here. So you don't need to go there and build. What are you going to do there? If people want to go there, what will you engage yourself with? Singing and dancing? Well, good luck to you. I don't want to join that party. So a little thought will make you dismiss those kind of huge concepts. But there are people who know, I want that. Like a child, say, you'll snatch the chocolate from the hand and the child will cry, fall down and say, I want that chocolate back. And okay, take that. And you take this. There are some people who are like that. They will not relinquish. With a little effort, they could have ended up on a different level of existence, completely different, that you could be transcendent, but they are caught up. So these two verses speaks about the lesser spirituality. It's not that the people are kind of impure or bad or cheats or liars. No, they are not like that. They are extremely pure, extremely righteous. Everything's going well with them. They are knowledgeable, they are wise, but they have desires. Yeah. What? Well, the greatest desire is, how do I become the non-I? When you come down to the edge of relinquishing your personal identity, no, we feel that's death. That's not death. This death of the body is nothing. You continue what you are doing, what you have been doing, you continue. That's not death. The real death is when the I dies. So we have these people, great people, they are not letting go of this I. And it's one of the greatest, you can say, obstacles to the attainment of Brahman. Yeah, we may kind of laugh, but then you see how everything is kind of hung. My whole existence is hung, as it were, attached to this sense of I. And if you ask a person, where is this I? Is it here? Is it here? Is it here? Is it here? It is here, it is everywhere. This I is the most difficult thing to renounce. And if you can do that, then you come down to the greatest spirituality, which is enumerated in the next verse. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. My God, that Ananyas chinta, those who do not see themselves as non-different from me. They have identified themselves with God. They have relinquished the small I. They have become no anya, ananya. They become one with God. And then what do? Chintayanto mam. They constantly meditate. Those persons, jana, ye jana. Paryupasate, constantly they worship me as their identity with mine as being non-different. You start with the idea that I am a child of God, or I'm a, you can say, friend of God, or I'm a part of God. And then you start, and then there is a kind of a mergence. As in the scriptures and bhakti is saying, the first stage is salokya. In this, they are in both God and you are on the same plane. Then samipya, that you are now getting closer to God. And then sarupya, that is of one, you can see, form. The God's form and your form are not distinct. You find your identity now with God, and then you merge. Those guys who are in this particular stage of sayukta, that's constantly joined to God, they constantly think, so what? Who's going to look after your affairs? All this world is. Who? The Lord says, I look after them. Tesham, to them, those who are constantly yoked, constantly engaged in this idea of non-difference with me, and they worship me, saying, I will bring for them whatever they lack and safeguard what they have. That's a technical word called yogakshemam. Yoga is, as I say, I arrange for the acquisition of what they lack and the preservation of what they have. Why is that? For those who are constantly engaged with the thoughts of God, God takes care of everything, because they don't have a separate will. For those others who have a separate will, who have not yet attained the state of identification with God, For them, God also provides everything, but makes them do some effort, so self-effort. So they work, and they think, yes, I have done this and I've got it by God's will or God's grace, I've got it. So the final giver is God. Yeah. So not like Santa Claus. It comes once a year, So God is the constant, watches everything in creation. Those who surrender themselves to God, He takes care of them. So there is a small story called Vahamyaham, I carry. Here it's generally translated as I make arrangements, or it's like I arrange for the acquisition. I arrange to provide to them. So there's this kind of nice story there. There was a Pandit, people who are kind of well. So when he was in the very old days, before the printing press, they used to copy, the books like manuscripts, copy, the great copiers. Now we have copiers and Xerox copiers and all these things. In the old days, they had to kind of write it. So while writing this particular verse, he said, Yoga Kshemam, that is, I provide for what that person lacks, and what is now acquired, I protect it. I safeguard it. So this person said, Vaham, I carry. How do I carry? The Lord is saying, I carry these things to Him. Vahami is to carry. So dadami is to give. I give. That's a better word. That's appropriate. I give to such people who are constantly identified with me. I provide for them the necessities of life. Okay. So he struck that word Vahami and wrote Dadami. And then he took a break from his work and he goes to have his bath in the river. And when he was returning, he seen a small boy walking in front of him, carrying on his basket, wicker basket. In old days in India, we still have it. You have the wicker baskets, and we carry stuff. Okay. So on the back of that boy, there was a strike mark. Somebody has lashed the boy the back with a whip type, and there's a welt. He's saying, what happened? Who has done that to you? Boy turned and looked at you. Have done it to me. Me? Yeah. And the boy disappears. He comes, my God. That was the Lord who had appeared as a boy to show that I actually carry these things. I don't give. So he immediately, the Pandit, he goes, he corrects that. He's saying, Vahami aham, I carry. It's not, I don't give, I carry. Actually, the Lord provides things by carrying it to us. So He cares. What is God doing? There is no God. Yeah. That's for those whose minds are so dull and stupid. They can't think of anything but their own idea of suffering. And most of this thing has been brought by themselves. A little more sensitive, a little devotion will open your eyes. Yeah. I have been cared for. I have been provided for. Yes, I worked for it, and God has planted this idea of you work, because you need to work out some of your karma. So you have a self-effort, you work it out. But those who are completely absorbed in the thought of God, for them, God does not make them work, provides them. So another meaning is ananyas chinta, without any break in the thought of God, without a break in the thought of God, those who worship me. Those generally who are dualist will interpret it. Ananyas chintayanto mam. Those who uninterruptedly worship me, contemplate by contemplating me. For them, those who are constantly joined to me, I will provide, I will carry to them what they need. I mean, you won't need $1 million so why? Because God will provide whatever is necessary for you so that you will take his or her name. Oh yeah, he will remove all obstacles. He will see that you have the basic necessities. You don't have to think, what will I do tomorrow? What will I do? God is going to look after me. Depend on him. Depend on God. So, and that is what, so instead of depending on the ego, we start depending on God. And that guy becomes diminutive, that ego. Because God has now come in our lives in a very positive way. And this is how we start getting closer and closer till we become one. So this is the highest form of spirituality. Yeah, we spoke about the other forms, lesser compared to this form, the complete absorption in the person. So there was a great Swami called Trilinga Swami. This morning we were talking about him. He was completely absorbed in the Brahman. And he was not aware of his body, etc. So what? Everything was provided for by God. Even Sri Ramakrishna goes and meets him, and he himself cooks that rice porridge and feeds that. So imagine. God himself, who came as Ramakrishna, going out and feeding, carrying this and feeding Trilinga Swami. There he is. We have an example here. Tremendous. So, Ananyas Chinta. This is a very famous, you can say, word. Ananyas Chinta. You should not think of God as different from you. If you think God is different from you, and that has been the biggest conundrum of religion. The moment we separated God from us. Thank God for Vedanta. They brought the God back in. Otherwise you would have had big trouble. Would have been lost, constantly lost. Most of us are lost anyway. But you would have find yourself, where do I find myself? In God. Really? Yeah. But I've been searching for God. Oh, no, you don't have to search for God. Searching for God. Where is God? Is God hiding behind that tree? The Christmas tree, is behind hiding? No. He's hiding there behind the ego. Push that guy away and you see God there. He'll reveal himself to you. Om, peace, peace, peace.
The Vedas, the Rig, the Sama, and the Yajus.
Yajus, yes.
How do you say it?
Y-A-J-U-S. It is also written as Yajur, Yajur. Yeah.
When did they come into existence?
They are eternal truths. The Vedas are the eternal truths that have been intuited by sages. The Vedas means knowledge. Knowledge of what? Knowledge, comprehensive knowledge. It is the mind of God, as they say. So these mantras used to flash in the minds of these rishis, and they never noted it down. They remembered it and orally transmitted to their next generation of disciples. And the next generation transmitted to the next generation. And this went on for thousands of years till it was written down.
When did they start?
Well, now most modern scholars, they put it around 4,000 before Common Era. So it's about more than 6,000 years old. The Rig Veda is the oldest extant book in the world of humankind.
Which one?
Rig Veda, the first Veda.
Oh, Rig.
Yeah. So people who are building those huge pyramids and this and that, and in India they were kind of let them build. We'll build something else. They built a spiritual literature. So these sages are called the rishis, the seers of the mantras. What mantras? The mantras of the Rig Veda, these Vedas. So later on there was a sage, a greater sage, who came and edited them and divided them into 4. They were first a mass of literature, and then for easy preservation they had this division called Vyasa. Okay. Thank you, Connie, and thank you. What's the true path when one is on the spiritual journey? The true path is a path of reality. Be real, get real, think real. Don't let any kind of illusion distract you. Don't let any kind of delusion distract you. Always test everything on this real. Is this real? So that is the true path. Okay. Thank you, everyone is thank you, and thank you all for joining in. Om, peace, peace, peace. In the name of the Lord. Hari.